Happy 50 years to the amazing Spider-Man! Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Na, 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 na. That's right, guys. It's Spider-Man's 50th anniversary. Happy 50 years, Spider-Man! That's right, guys. Welcome to Comic Book Corner, and today we are talking about none other than the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 692. That's right, guys. As you know by now, Amazing Spider-Man's 50th anniversary is here, and we get to celebrate it by a double-sized issue with 3 stories and lots of variants. So with that being said, let's get started, shall we? Okay, first we have this cover right here, which is a J. Scott Campbell cover. You guys know I love his cover art. We can see we have Spider-Man, we have Stan Lee, Gwen Stacy's on there, Aunt May, Mary Jane, and we see there Black Cat's on there. So very, very cool cover. Next cover that is in this variant is this cover right here. This is the 60s variant. This is when obviously Spider-Man really originated and he got bit by the radioactive spider. This cover is really cool. Really digging that cover right there. Let's see what other covers we have. This is another one of my favorite covers. Probably one of my favorite out of all of them is the 70s variant. This is the one where Spider-Man is holding Gwen Stacy. This one is very cool. Love this variant cover. Again, one of my favorites. Next one we have here is this one, which is the 80s variant. This is with the symbiote taking over Peter Parker's body. This one's really nice. These images I got from Marvel.com, as you can see there on the bottom. So this one's really cool. Next one we have is this one, and this is the 90s variant. This is like all the Peter Parkers grabbing Spider-Man, just hanging upside down. Very creative here. And then last but not least, we have this one here, and this is the 2000s or the New Millennium edition. I like this cover too. It's got Wolverine and Iron Man and Spider-Woman, Captain America there. You know, it's got the Avengers there. It's pretty neat. Very cool cover. And then last but not least here, guys, we have the cover that everyone probably bought from the stands, the direct cover, and this is a really nice cover. The cost of it was obviously $5.99, and we have all of Spider-Man's costumes in the background. Really, really cool. Really dig this cover, but it is pricey, $5.99. But hey, what can you get for these days for under $6, huh? Great Spider-Man story? Well, you got 3 in this one. So those are your covers, guys. And now on to the review and then the walkthrough of the book. So, what did I think of The Amazing Spider-Man 692 before we do the walkthrough and before I do spoilers and stuff like this? For you guys that don't want to see the walkthrough, I'll give the review first. The book overall was good. The art was good. Dan Slott wrote it, so you can't go wrong there. Very creative type of book. We have a new hero or a sidekick of that note, and his name is Alpha. Where is Marvel going to go with Alpha? I'm not sure, but as the early stages see in this book, I can see Alpha being a very cocky character, kind of almost like a Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, or Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker. That's what I'm going for. Obi-Wan, Anakin Skywalker type of thing, where Spider-Man is the Lord and Alpha is the apprentice, and I can see him overturning him in the future. I can see Alpha being a huge threat in the future. He is like made out of all kinds of what they call as Parker particles. The introduction to the character was very similar to Spider-Man. If you guys have not read it yet, I don't want to give the whole thing away, but it was very similar to Spider-Man's origin. And good God, there's just one thing that I have to get off my chest is why in every goddamn Spider-Man book that we have to tell an origin of Spider-Man. Okay? I am so over the origin tales. We don't get a description of Wolverine every time, and we don't get a description of Deadpool or Captain America or any other flippin' character out there, but for some reason, every time we get a Spider-Man book that has some kind of meaning, we get an origin story. We don't need the origin stories. We got the dang movies that just came out, for crying out loud. That's the one thing that bugs me about Spider-Man is these origin stories. Sorry, I had to get that out. But, nevertheless, the story has to do with a new character. His name is Alpha, and that's in a nutshell that I don't want to spoil. Now, if you guys want to continue watching, I'm going to do the walkthrough. You're going to learn a little bit more about Alpha, what his character represents, how he originated, and we'll take it from there. But the book overall, the main story, I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was good. It's kind of corny seeing Spider-Man with a sidekick, but what are you going to do? Just deal with it. We'll move on. I'm sure there'll be some interesting Spider-Man stories as we go. The second and third story, the second story was good. It was touching. I enjoyed it. The third story was humorous. Couldn't care for it. I would have done for more of the Amazing Spider-Man title. But it's an anniversary issue. We throw in all kinds of stuff. Okay, so with that being said, guys, if you don't want to see the walkthrough of the book, I'm going to go through the walkthrough now. And when you come back, you can see my thoughts and my expressions as we walk through the book after you have read it. Okay? So, in the beginning of this book, we have the origin story, like I've already said. We know Spider-Man gets bit by a spider. He goes and he becomes cocky, and he protects, and he finds his uncle is dead in the warehouse, and yada yada yada. Yeah, we know this. So now you go back in the beginning of the book, it comes to Alpha. And basically what it is, it's an origin story of this character. His name is Andy McGuire. Funny, McGuire. Were we trying to say something? I don't know. McGuire. His parents don't care for him much. They love him, but they don't show him the attention that he deserves. And same thing, he lives close to this girl next door, like Mary Jane. He loves her, he adores her. This guy is a nothing, no one cares about him. He's supposed to go on this school trip. His parents never signed a permission slip. He goes on the school trip. He gets bullied as we go around. He gets knocked down. Peter, helps him up as time goes on, helps him up to the thing. There's this big experiment at Horizon Labs. and Peter says that he has this hyperkinetic form of energy, and it's called Parker particles. And he feels that he can use this to help energy throughout the world. It's not expensive. It's almost limitless. And they're showing this to all kinds of people. They're showing this to people that are watching, scientists, people in media, scientists, everybody. And, and Modell sits there and says, this positive feedback is just, we need this. Well, literally, we say his little two-timing assistant there takes out the safety from everything, and the experiment goes wrong. And all of a sudden, we see the birth and the origin of our new hero right here, and that is Alpha. Let me see if I can get this camera real quick to sharpen a little bit. That might be better. And again, yep, so we have Alpha here. And all of a sudden he absorbs this energy, and the next thing we see is his parents are at the lawyer's table getting ready to sue. But in the end, they come up with this agreement where Alpha can do all these commercials for Horizon Labs and sponsor them, and they get lots of money for doing this. So he's just like a poster child for Horizon Labs. And after doing some studies on Alpha now, they find out that he is a very strong character. His abilities, they're limitless. He has all kinds of abilities. He can fly, he can protect it, he can shield himself, he can jump, he's got strength. He's done all kinds of tests, and Mr. Fantastic was, studying him. And he talks to Parker, and he sits there and he goes, this guy is on the level of Sentry and the Hulk and the Phoenix, and this guy's Alpha. He's the one and only. He's the strongest. So what Mr. Fantastic has done is told Peter that he has to watch him, take him under his wing, show him responsibility, things of that nature. They don't want him, being let loose. And as time goes on, we see Alpha. He's doing his commercials and everything else, and the kids love him. He's like a Justin Bieber of superheroes. Girls love him. People are crying, over here, Alpha, we love you. Things going on like that. And, as we go on, Peter's all concerned about Alpha, and Aunt May's concerned, and about him being distant from the family, and that was Jay's concerned, and things like that. And the only person that Peter could talk to is Mary Jane. It was nice to see Mary Jane in the 50th anniversary issue. I was hoping that she would be in here, and I really want them to get back together. But he spills the guts on what Alpha is and what they have to do, and he basically says that he's jealous because when he was in high school, he wanted all these things, and he never got that. In this particular, and Alpha, or Andy McGuire, he gets all that. He gets the girl, he gets the riches, he gets the money, all the stuff that he never got. And as the issue continues, Peter goes and says, you know what, I have to watch him. I have to watch Alpha. I have to take note. I have to see what's going on, things of that, of that nature. And so he does, and they show him the sidekicks. They show him not to punch, good guys, not to punch, use super punches to punch the bad guys, and things go on like that. It was cool to see. And then later on, Fantastic Four's in a battle going against Giganto, and it's mating season. The Fantastic Four and Spider-Man can't stop this creature. Artwork is really good. I love Ramos's art. I wish he would stay on Spider-Man. It fits the book. It fits, the way he draws Peter and everything. For some people, it might be a little bit too exaggerated and cartoony. But to me, as a kid, I grew up to Spider-Man kind of looking like this when Eric Larson drew him and Todd McFarlane drew him and all that stuff. And Bagley drew him. Like, I loved all this artwork. So this artwork fits the book for me. And then as we continue, we see Alpha here coming in. He's like, it's clobbering time. And then one punch, you can see how strong he is, takes out Giganto. And all of a sudden, they're cheering him on. And as the book goes, he's sitting there, I'm the most powerful superhero as there is. Spider-Man's my sidekick, blah, blah, blah. And he goes on. And Reed Richards is like, you didn't tell him, did you? And he's like, yeah, I kind of did. And so little do we see at the end is that we see our mysterious character watching, lurking, waiting to appear back in the Spider-Man comics. We haven't seen him since Spider Island. And that, my friends, is the Jackal. And what does the Jackal have to do with it all? So that was the end of the main story. The main story was really good. I enjoyed it. Like I said, it was a 4 out of 5. Artwork's good. The humor is hysterical. I like the humor. It's what Spider-Man is about. You got the cat. Now you got the cocky sidekick. And it's going to be interesting to see how this character grows. If he stays true, if he stays a hero, if he's really good for the Allies, and eventually he turns bad and becomes the worst enemy for Spider-Man. It's going to be interesting to see how the power corrupts the young child. In this next issue, we get to see a very touching situation. We see a costume being left in the trash can, just like we've seen in years past with Spider-Man. And we see a bank robber. And all he wants to do is he wants to get money for a person named Olivia. And he does whatever he can. And in the end, he doesn't really, he tries to get money and he doesn't. But what you find out, it's really for his daughter. And his daughter is obviously dying of cancer, and or if it's his grandfather. And he goes, yeah, it's his grandfather who's trying to get the money for his treatments. And he dresses up as him, and he goes, your grandfather asked me to meet you. And he goes, he told me how great and beautiful you are, and how much he wished he could ease your pain and had the money to pay for more treatments. And then she says, Olivia, which is the dying child, says, oh, Grandpa, there are only so many people a superhero can save in one day. And she goes to sleep, and the grandfather gives her a kiss. And then he puts back the suit, and he says, thank you, Spider-Man. And to me, this wasn't a very long story, but it was very touching to the heart. And stories like this I can appreciate. So I love that story. The next story is basically about Peter, who just says just right, is the story's name. And the art's a little weird, makes Spider-Man, thin and everything. But it's about Peter and Spider-Man just having a really bad day. Everything that he tries to do goes wrong. So if it's going to rescue somebody, it goes wrong. He gets beat up by a chick. He tries to rescue people in the fire. It's a dummy. Things of that stuff. It goes all wrong. In the end, he rescues a kid from being bullied because it reminds him back in the day when he was getting bullied. And he gives him a life lesson not to lie, be yourself, and this and that. And he takes him out on a trip, on the webs, and gets pictures, gets some ice cream, meets the hot girls in Marvel right here. And, and basically the kid has a time of his life. And it's something that the kid will always remember. So it's a little touching moment there. It was a kind of a funny story, but then it's like life lessons at the same time. So besides the art, the story was decent. But overall, this book was a 4 out of 5. And you guys really need to read it yourselves to enjoy the issue for what it is. And we can always, in some way or another, a lot of people can always relate to Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And that's why a lot of us love him so much. And as growing up as a kid, I loved Spider-Man, and to this day, he is still my favorite superhero. There has been rough times in the writing of the book, but overall, I can relate to Peter a lot as a kid as I was growing up, and his adventures and his stories kept me going, and it's what got me into comics today. So, guys, with that being said, hopefully you enjoyed the Amazing Spider-Man 692 as much as I have. And thank you for watching this comic book review and walkthrough. And subscribe today to Comic Book Corner. And as always, thank you. And until the next comic book review, this is Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching Comic Book Corner. And happy 50 years, Spider-Man. Bye, guys.